Vidmori POV. Once everyone had gathered, I reached into my storage space and pulled out a small chest. Eyebrows raised with curiosity, as I could sense everyone recognizing the box, though they were still uncertain as to what I intended to do next. Since you are all going so far away from my territory, I'm not sure if you'll be able to reach out to me if anything happens. So, with that in mind, I want you all to take a slate, so that you can all communicate with me, or each other, if you need to. With that said, I open up the small chest, revealing the remaining 5 slates that were inside. The sinners all looked rather intrigued, though Pride spoke up, appearing uncertain about something. While I certainly appreciate the offer, Vidmori, are you sure it is wise to simply give us such precious magic tools? We are able to communicate telepathically with each other through the bond we share with you. I wouldn't want you to waste these on us. She was sincere in her worries, though I could sense she was rather interested in using the magic tool in question. I don't know about the rest of you all, but I, for one, welcome the opportunity to use such a rare magic tool. Lust enthused, as he flashed a toothy smirk, reaching over and gently plucking a slate from the chest, looking it over with gluttony. This earned a glare from Pride, but she didn't move to stop Lust or take it back from him, instead looking over at me expectantly. I chuckled softly at the exchange before shaking my head a bit. While that may be the case, I don't want you to rely solely on that ability. It's always good to have alternatives, in case anything were to happen. I then hold the chest up to Pride, and offer a kind smile. Besides, you are my people, and these things are just tools. Tools are replaceable and are meant to be used. People are not. Take it, please. I can sense her hesitation even now, but I feel that my words have struck an odd chord with her, as she took another moment before plucking a slate from the chest and looking it over. Very well. Thank you, Vidmori, she said, as she lowered her head for a moment. Now, as you can all obviously see, there won't be enough slates for all of you to have one. Considering your various objectives, one slate shall go with pride and wrath, one will go with sloth and envy, and another slate will go with greed, lust, and gluttony. Turning to look at Dread and Basti, I offer the remaining 2 slates. Finally, you two will get your own since you'll be operating separately from everyone else. Their intrigue and curiosity were palpable. Even Wrath was peering over Pride's shoulder to watch as they activated the slate and tested out their functions. Before long, all the slates were synced to each other, and soft trills were heard as messages were sent from one slate to another. At first I was worried about the noise, but luckily it seemed Tori had thought about that, and there were vibrate and silent modes available on the slates. As their interest started to wane, I spoke up once more, procuring several pouches, filled with copper and silver coins and passing them out. You're also probably going to need some spending money, now that I think about it. I made sure to sort out the coin you all originally had, along with some extra from Diarosa. Though once the coins were passed out, I pulled out the diamonds I made from Dahlia. They were a mix of black, clear and blue diamonds. Once I had finished showing off the chunkier gems, I made a show of crushing them against each other until they were much smaller. The gems now look more like a centerpiece of a ring, rather than some sort of crown jewel. I could feel the shock and dismay from Dread and the Sinners as they watched the gems be shattered. It's likely they recognized the possible value of gems the size of grapes and plums, but ultimately these gems have no real immediate value to me. Considering the reaction and the compensation I received from the Empire with the gems I made last time, any gems I produce that don't get sized down like this would most likely be much harder to sell at normal pawn shops or retailers. I go about handing everyone several shards of diamonds before stashing the rest away. Use these to grease palms, or to trade and buy things where corn won't suffice. Especially if you're dealing with shady individuals, or making any sort of black market deals. Valuable goods will get you somewhere faster than just plain coin. Looking among them, I could sense that only Dread, Busty, and Envy clearly understood what I was getting at, but they all sort of grasped the idea I presented to them. I can't help but wonder what else I could give them to prepare them for the journey. It's not like this world is actively set to kill them, but they are all in danger in one way or another. I know logically that they're all capable adults, who are more than able to fend for themselves if push comes to shove, but I can't help but be reminded of all the young men and women that I've picked up and trained, seeing them go off and sometimes never seeing them again, for one reason or another. My concern must have been apparent on my face, as Pride offers a small smile at me, stepping closer and poking at my shoulder. Did you know your right brow always twitches a little when you're worrying about something? Even in a wooden body, your tells and habits seem to carry over. I quirked a brow curiously at that, looking between her and the others. What are you getting at? I have a slight sinking feeling that I know what she's about to say, but I wait for her response. Envy is the one to speak up, flashing a bit of a smirk as he looks over at me. What she's saying is that we know a lot about you, and that we've seen your memories. To be exact, Sloth and I have seen your memories before you returned ours back to us. And then, once the others redeveloped their mana rings, we shared what we learned about you for our dreams, he explained, chuckling softly at my expense. Which earned a very light smack upside the back of his head, as Sloth just shook her head at Envy's explanation. You didn't have to be so blunt, she said, gently scolding her friend before looking up at me. The point I feel Pride and Envy is trying to make is that we understand you. We understand why you did what you did, and how you are trying to process our world. Pride pitched in, shrugging as she pulled away. I'll admit, that morning after we received our memories back, we had some hard feelings about what was done to us, and the other people that were with us that day we were attacked. But after going through your memories that our shells have processed, and spending the last several days discussing it, we've come to a consensus that while you may be cruel and brutal at times, we see you for what you are. A good man who has lost much and suffered greatly. You also had a very impressive and honourable death, Raph said simply. Murmurs of agreement coming from the others, as they nodded intently at that comment. Mortally wounded, and at a point in your life where you thought you genuinely stopped caring about others. When faced with your imminent demise, you chose to use your final moments in saving complete strangers, at which point you managed to stand and face your last few seconds in the world, fighting to the bitter end. I only hope to have a final death as impressive as yours, she said, sounding rather genuine at that final comment. You're like the crazy badass grandpa I never had, Green mused, flashing a roguish grin and chuckling as he crossed his arms across his chest. That earned a look from Pride, but she smiled after a moment before looking back at me. After you left us alone that first morning, when we got our memories back, we originally planned on never returning after we achieved our goals of vengeance, but after getting to know you, through wholly honest and unfiltered means, we decided that we would like to come back to your service, if you'll have us, she asked, sounding fairly sheepish at the end. Before I could get a word in, Envy piped up. It's also not like we have anywhere else to go once we start burning bridges. Our whole lives revolve around theocracy, and I'd rather not stick around once the deed has been done. This earned Envy another gentle smack of admonishment from Sloth, but then Greed pitched in rather quickly. Speak for yourselves. I've got family and friends in the theocracy, a nice little guild hall too. He mused with a smirk, but then he flashed a more genuine smile as he scratched the back of his head, But I'd rather move them out of that shithole once it's all said and done, and it sounds like there'll be plenty of space to move into here, thanks to those Drake Wardens. I'm honestly not sure how to really react. Their candor as a whole, and not being what I expected from them. The more worrisome fact is that they had unfiltered access to my memories, just like Revere and Zasutir, now that I think about it. Does everyone get to see them? Is it streamed into their minds like a movie? Or how else are they getting access? I know Revere said mages could dreamwalk if they're talented enough, but the number of people who see my memories has gotten to double digits at this point. I mean, I suppose it's only fair. I got to see all their memories after they died, and I've got them stored somewhere in the back of my mind for me to review and study. But there's got to be a way to prevent this from happening. Breach of privacy aside, I've both seen and done some pretty horrible things, and nobody should have to see that if they don't have to. I squash away my worries and emotions once more as I offer a smile, looking among the sinners as they crowd around me. You all will always have a place here. With that, I take a step back and pull the magically sealed chest out from my storage and offer it up to Pride and Wrath. I need you two to be especially careful with this chest. Do your best to follow this chest after handing it over. It's likely whoever the intended recipient for this is a major player in everything that's wrong with the theocracy. The duo nods intently at my words, though once Wrath takes it up, I look between them again. Even though I told you to keep a close eye on what happens to this chest, if you ever feel that you're in actual danger, or that you've been compromised, don't hesitate to retreat. We can always try again later. Your lives aren't worth risking for a little bit of information. Taking a step away, I look at the others, meeting their gaze. This goes for all of you. Be careful, and don't take unnecessary risks. There's always another chance. Toppling an organization takes time. It's not something you can rush if you want it to be done right. Understood, old-timer. See you later, Greed mused, as he started heading out of the training room, giving a wave of his hand as he smiled back at me from over his shoulder. The other sinners followed suit until it was just me, Dread, Basti, Ururu, and Frisbee. For some reason, as I watched them leave, I'm overwhelmed with a strange array of emotions, almost fatherly in a sense. Then it clicks for me. The sinners and Dread are all in their late 20s, maybe early 30s. If I had a traditional life, and had kids around the same time my parents had me, I probably would have had children around their age by now, with grandkids on the way. They probably don't see it like that, though, and it's likely I'm just getting sentimental in my old age. I should find something to busy myself with again. Before I can retreat into my mind again, Basti grabs my attention by tugging at my poncho. "Let's take a walk," she said simply, while flashing a toothy smile, not even waiting for a reply, as she looped her arm around mine and started walking me out. Yeah, sure. While I don't exactly have a reason not to go with her, I still feel just a little uncomfortable by her use of Dahlia's face. That's not fair to her, though, so I just grin and bear it. As we leave the training room, we make our way up to my core chamber and cross the stone path up to my core itself. We just stand there for a time, watching my core, staring as the rings of light swirl and pulse within me. After a few minutes, Basti's hand slides into mine, our fingers interlocking together. "I'm going to miss you. I know you're going to follow after me soon, but I never really thought that I would ever leave this place. This is my home. My home is with you and our cubs." She leans in closer, her head laying against my chest as she nuzzles into me. Once again, a sense of unease travels up my artificial spine. The face of a cruel, sadistic bitch is leaning into me in such a loving fashion. But this is not her. That woman is dead and gone, and the woman before me genuinely cares for and wants to be around me. I pull my arm away from her grasp, only to drag them both around her. I'll miss you too. Tell you what, once I catch up, let's go out on a date. Maybe do some shopping and have dinner somewhere. I felt her start rumbling in response as she embraced me with a surprisingly strong hug. Though after a few seconds she pulled away, being engulfed by shadows as she shifted into a bestial form. I should go before I get too carried away, she said, almost sheepishly, as her ears waggled and twitched. I could sense she was excited by the idea of spending time together as people, though I can only hope she doesn't expect too much. It's not like I have had a lot of practice with dates in the last couple of decades, so it'll be a novel experience for both of us. Gathering my thoughts, I came up beside her and affectionately massaged one of her ears. I'll see you soon, and please, stay safe. She doesn't respond to that, instead just leaning into my touch before pulling away and making her way down the mountain. Once again left to my own devices, I turned to look at my core and watch the light swirling within. Am I doing the right thing here? Should I have kept to myself like before? How many more will die because of the things I've set in motion today? I reached out, placing my wooden hand against my core as I felt the warmth pulsing from the glowing green rock. On the other hand, how many would have died if I didn't do anything? If I didn't do anything, would anyone else have done something in my place? Or would anyone even try to change things? I look up from my core, sighing for the sake of sighing. My eyes go to the murals I carved, all my new family and friends that have joined me since I woke up here. If I didn't do anything, then I would have never gotten the chance to meet them as they are now. As my mind wanders to the idea of friends, I pull my slate out of my inventory and stare down at the polished black surface. Gazing upon my own reflection, I go about turning it on and tapping on the screen before sending off a message to Tori. Hey, got some time to talk? Though as soon as I sent off the message, I began to regret it. What kind of man am I to burden a younger woman with my issues? I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? A trill came from the slate within a minute, and I'm soon greeted by a simple smiley face emoji and a response. For you, I've got all the time in the world, Matchstick Man. I couldn't help but smile a bit as I sighed. This was the only other person in the world who could probably even come close to understanding how I feel. I think it'll be okay for me to rely on her, if only a little bit. Before I could type out a response, the slate began trilling some more, as her contact came up. Looks like she wanted to talk even more than me. With a comfortable, real smile on my face, I go ahead and answer. Hey there.